Hey everybody, I'm back. I've only been gone for 1 minute. Today we have two very special MAUDCasts because tomorrow we have an election and I wanted to speak to some first-time voters and also not just any first-time voters, some of the most amazing young people I know. And we have coming up on this hour of the MAUDCast, because it's a 2-hour special, is my little brother Alaman. And I did a little outfit change too because, well, I was feeling very collegiate because, I was talking to Nia. It was just the homecoming weekend at Columbia. We did a virtual homecoming. Alaman is a scholar. I remember he was the first child to tell me that he was a scholar. Alaman, how are you? We're just waiting for Alaman's turn. Hey, Alaman.
Hello.
I need you to
Hi.
do a little groove to my theme song. Oh, you threw it at me. You threw it at me. You threw it at me.
Yes,
You
indeed.
threw it at me. Hi,
Yes,
Alaman. How
Hi,
are
Mom.
you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. Welcome to the MAUDCast.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad
Thank
to
you for
be
being
here.
a guest.
Absolutely, without a doubt. I mean, this is the hottest show around, so I had to.
Oprah
show up.
called, but I said, I have Alaman at my 4 o'clock hour.
Oh my gosh.
So, Lady Oprah, we got to call you maybe next week, but let me check
Yeah.
Alaman's schedule.
I hope
Let
she
me holler
doesn't.
at Alaman.
I hope she doesn't get mad at me because she knows some important people.
Hey, Ben Williams. Ben Williams said, hey, little bro.
Oh, what's up, Ben?
So, Alaman, let me give you a proper
Oh, my boy.
introduction. So, everybody, This is Alaman. He is my little brother, but beyond that, he is an exceptional young man. He's an amazing tap dancer, singer, producer, scholar, academic, mentor, mentee, and he's smart and woke and just fantastic and always shows up, puts gas in your car when you borrows it. He's just an all-around good young brother, okay?
Regular gas.
And he goes, you know you better not put regular gas in my good. And he currently attends Yale University.
Yep.
Which obviously is online right now because here we are in coronavirus.
My campus looks a lot like my bedroom.
You said what?
My campus looks a lot like my bedroom, actually.
Well, currently there's
it's crazy. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Hey, Jabu.
Hi, Jabu, another talented, amazing young person. So, Alaman, you are now 20 years old.
Yep.
And this is your first time voting in a presidential election.
Yep.
First of all, everybody give it up for Alaman because he is a registered voter. He is a voter. It's very exciting. I'm very proud of you. First, we'll start with a quick fun question, and then we're going to go into the other stuff. Okay. What is your favorite non-alcoholic beverage that brings you joy? As this is MAUDCAST, the real happy hour.
Right. Okay. Well, I gotta go with two because the first one is like my actual favorite, but it's super boring. I love cold water. You know this about me. Like I can drink cold water anytime.
But you know what's funny is that Gabrina, who's our friend who's the doctor, hers was water. She was like water all day, every day.
I literally I can drink it at any time. Like, because there's some people that don't like water, which is very, very crazy problematic. People. But yeah, water is one of them, and then the other one I probably go with like a mango juice, mango nectar. That's always like delicious.
Oh, a mango. Okay, fancy something with the nectar, not a juice, a nectar.
Come on. I have to.
You have to be fancy. You have to be fancy.
Yes, indeed.
I love it. Okay. So, Alaman, when you got your voter registration in the mail or the internet, I don't know how you did it. How did you feel?
When I got my, I felt like, I don't know. I think it was, I'll talk about when I got my ballot, right? Because
when you got your ballot.
Yeah, I got my ballot a couple weeks ago, and I think that I felt like some sense of like consequence. It's been like such. I mean, it's obviously such a pivotal election. But I feel like we've been talking about this election for like 2 whole years now. Honestly, 4 years. So like it didn't really feel real. And then I like saw the ballot and I saw the candidates on there. And I was like, okay, wow, like, yeah, I'm actually voting, but two, this is like actually happening in a couple weeks. And I mean, it's obviously tomorrow. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. But, yeah, it was definitely like like consequence is the word for when I got the
Wow,
ballot. I was like,
that's a
yeah,
heavy word,
yeah,
Alaman.
absolutely, yeah.
And how did you vote? So how did you figure out your research? Because there's so many other things to vote for. What was your
Yeah.
approach?
My mom and I, we decided to do the ballot box approach.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Luckily we're in California. That's of the states that has taken voter suppression measures. We're lower on that list, so
Mm-hmm.
we're happy for that. However, still, I'm not one to trust USPS. So I was like, I'll drop it in an official ballot box close to the election date. And yeah, I think that was like that was the research that went into it. I looked up where the ballot box was. There are great maps of where ballot boxes are in case you guys are still holding on to your ballots. Um, and that's what we did. Yeah,
And
ballot
then in
box.
terms of like the measures and the props and all that, how did you decide on that? Were you Googling? What did you do?
I definitely Googled them. I think that a really important thing to do when looking at propositions is to look at who's paying for them,
Mm-hmm.
because that will like the special interests and like that's where like the term lobbying really comes into play. As far as our personal lives. I think the big one is it Prop 22 about like Lyft and
The
Uber.
Uber.
Yeah, I mean, among others. But this one is like a really big one, right? And we're kind of being drowned with ads about how, Lyft and Uber drivers 4-to-1 support, yes, on 22, but it's also paid for by like Lyft and Uber technologies. Um, so it's like you gotta obviously that's a very unique one too because I feel like the consequences for that proposition really um, affect a small, well, not a small portion, but like a minority of like the labor force in that it's a very specific job. But I personally don't feel like I should even be making that decision. But lo and behold, Uber and Lyft made that happen. So yeah, I think looking at who's paying for the propositions and
Mm-hmm.
considering like if you just read the definitions of like a yes and a no vote that comes to you in the mail on the ballot, like both are going to seem pretty agreeable and like
Yeah.
very smart people are writing them. So you have to pay attention to the ramifications and consequences of each one. Like I read one proposition, I don't know the name, my bad, but there was it was something about like creating a new DNA registry for um, uh, sex offenders, some very like
Oh yeah,
high
I
high
saw
level
something like
crimes.
that.
But then right at the end there was it was like sex offenders and shoplifting. And for me I was like I can't go on that because shoplifting for me is different than shoplifting for a white girl on the other side of the 405. That's called kleptomania, and it's a
And
health
here
problem that's
you
treated,
are
right?
a felon, and a
Exactly,
predator.
right? Yeah. If I
Yeah.
even stole anything, like it's my word against whoever. It's like, okay, like yeah, he took Starburst. Like now he's in the DNA registry. Like
Yes.
that's not something that would fly with me. But yeah, essentially for the propositions, like researching who's paying for it and really trying to consider like what does the consequence. It's like a little mental game, like considering all the possible outcomes, even though they might not necessarily be likely.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy because in the state of California, we had to vote to try to put affirmative action back into place,
Right. Yeah.
which I
I
didn't
mean,
even realize
yeah.
wasn't a thing anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very interesting. also because specifically in California for our state schools are majority Asian, because Asian students, tend to do the best in terms of showing academic merit. But there was a problem. Okay, I'm going to hop out of California, but at my own school at Yale, there was the Department of Justice gave a warning to Yale that Yale has to get rid of affirmative action because by using affirmative action, white and Asian students were being discriminated against because their numbers were better than Black people and the like. That's no surprise coming from this administration, but it's such a hard line to toe, and it's all rooted in what a definition of discrimination is, because
how is legacy not discrimination?
Absolutely, yeah. How is legacy not
discrimination? Alaman, do you want to explain what legacy is, particularly in the Ivy Leagues?
Absolutely, yeah. So legacy is based in familial link. So say John Johnson went to Columbia in 1980, and he has a kid in 1985, and the kid's 20 by 2005, and he's 18 by 2003, and is applying to college. That kid, John Johnson Jr., has an advantage because his father went to Columbia, and so he's put in a different pool he's essentially pitted against legacies, and there are far less legacies applying than non-legacies, and so you have somewhat of a statistical advantage. And then you consider the socioeconomic ramifications of somebody who went to Columbia likely being in a higher socioeconomic bracket, connections, this and that. There's a lot more than just that percentage calculus that goes into helping somebody get in as a legacy. I mean, essentially, if your parent went to a school, they're gonna know how to get you in, or at least how to try to do it, and you'll have a shot.
That was a great definition. And I asked Alaman to explain it because when you have people who benefited from legacy saying that affirmative action is discriminatory, it's absolutely hypocritical.
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, if you want to consider a different legacy, consider the legacy of Black people not being allowed to take class at a school like Yale or at a school like Columbia within the last 100 years. Probably within the last, I don't know. Actually, I'd have to research that. But
I'd have to research. I know women weren't allowed at Columbia until probably 50 years ago.
Literally when you came to visit me at school last year, that was the 50th anniversary of women being admitted into classes at Yale, and it was 4 or 5, 6 of them in an entire class the first few years. It was crazy.
Insane.
They were trailblazing though, and they were killing it.
And I mean, 50 years ago, that is the exact age. So 50 years ago would have been when my mom would have been enrolling in college. So that's not even some far away past thing.
Not at all. I mean, I'm pretty sure. Have you seen the pictures of Ruby Bridges today?
Yes.
She looks so young.
She looks like our grandmother. And
it's
crazy.
100%.
Because it all was so recent. I mean, my grandma's a Holocaust survivor. She's alive and well. It's not like these are things of things of the past, of the ancient past. It's not Game of Thrones. This is family
100%.
that is still alive. So being that this was your first election, and obviously this is a very important election. Every election is important. How have you found your peers who are other first-time voters activating? Are they feeling apathetic? Are they feeling empowered? How are they feeling? And are you guys debating a lot about stuff?
I think that more so in my peer group, younger people just, skew to be more, Democrat supporting. And so it's not necessarily so many arguments about the blue candidate versus the red candidate. Also, I would I have to qualify that as a college student, kids are just more politically engaged in terms of that peer group. So I can't necessarily speak for 20-year-olds in a blanket sense.
Thank you for making that distinction. I think that's really important.
It is because I definitely understand, like I understand voter apathy, like for sure. I mean, there's like, at a certain point in time, I was not necessarily too excited about the Democratic candidate. However, again, the consequences, outweigh that initial feeling of like, wanting, like what I wanted, and what we would want. But yeah, I guess generally, I think that I'd say that like on social media, like the thing that I've been seeing like the most is encouragement to vote, and resources for how to register and how to do things really easy. Like LeBron's campaign is fantastic. President Obama has a awesome website, and there are countless others. I'm just referencing those because I checked those out. But yeah, I'd say that young people are definitely going to turn out more than they did last time, and probably in record numbers, just because of um, uh, the pertinence of the issue to social media, and how frequent we're seeing it on social media.
I mean, in the last time I voted, I guess I was a primary, I suppose, yes. It was thanks to your Instagram that because full disclosure, I did not do enough research before the primary in terms of, not for the presidential stuff, but for the other stuff. And you posted about the DA here in California, and you were like, vote her out. And I hadn't done the research, which is terrible, and I own that, but I did the research this time. But it was thanks to Alaman, a young person's Instagram story, when I was waiting in line to vote, that I was like, oh, I need to vote this woman out. Because, of course, my first inclination, because she's a Black woman, was I immediately
Absolutely.
thought she would be advocating for Black people, when in fact she does the exact opposite.
Yeah, no, she hasn't prosecuted barely any killer police officers.
No,
and it's really bad.
She's got to go.
Really bad. I think, and that's another, that's another reason why research is so important, because one of the more nefarious.
Alaman, can you center yourself?
I'm so sorry. My bad.
No problem. There, that looks good.
Yeah. One of the more nefarious qualities of politics is the way in which images will be used to dissuade people from, considering what they would actually want to be, acted out by their elected officials. I think that, using a Black person as a figurehead, like I don't mean to speak, disrespectfully about her, because, she is, she is a person, she's a Black woman and whatnot. However, she clearly serves a certain agenda that does not bode well for other people that look like her. And that is, a common trope of both major political parties, actually. So
it's an interesting. It always feels like a betrayal. Like it really feels like a betrayal. And you say you don't want to be disrespectful. You're so respectful in the sense, because what you're saying is purely based on fact. You're not saying I don't like her clothes, I don't like her hair. You're saying I don't like how she is not standing up for a community that you would think she should stand up for. It's like being a woman. If I just disparaged women and did anything to keep women down, you'd be like, what's your problem? It is a betrayal. And it's so sad, because oftentimes people don't have the energy or the time or the resources to do the research. So you do just kind of look and say, well, this person looks like maybe they came from where I'm from, so I'm gonna vote for them.
Exactly. And that's another scary thing, because voting down the ballot is normally the lower on the ballot you go, the closer that candidate's policy comes to affecting you. So, at the federal level, obviously the president's very important, and manager of the federal bureaucracy, et cetera, et cetera.
and he's our figurehead.
Exactly, he's a figurehead.
Our face.
He has so many things. He's our face internally and externally to other countries. But, you know, our mayor is like, you know, our face. And if we talk about our mayor, like we'd say our face doesn't really care about homeless people considering how the city looks and what he does. Look at our attorney general, who we've already talked about. Her face looks like ours, but what's behind the face is not like what's behind our faces. And then, you know, at an even smaller level, like I think we're probably in the same district, like District 10. And there was the candidate like Grace Yu versus, or there is the candidate Grace Yu versus Mark Ridley Thomas.
I didn't know. I'm in a different district than you.
Okay, got it.
I think then, I'm on the other side of Venice.
Exactly. Okay, there you go. So for example, these are, again, two people of color running. Like they're both considered to be, you know, well, not progressive candidates, but I'd assume more liberal leaning, or at least central, like center or left of center. However, this woman is left of center, and contrary to what you would think, she doesn't believe systemic racism is a problem and doesn't consider over-policing of Black and brown people to be a structural issue. And that's in like my, like, you know, mild, like in my radius, like literally in my neighborhood. So she'd be setting the tone in a certain way. Whoa. Right around me. And, you know, like somebody might look at her and just be like, yeah, I'm voting for her because I saw her ad and she looks like a nice lady, this and that. You know, Mark Ridley Thomas is a Black man who's I'm going to be voting for. He did have some issues with fraud, but, you know, again, this isn't an election. This election cycle is not about the perfect candidate. There aren't perfect candidates. Fraud.
Our president.
Yeah, thank you. So there you go. I mean, you know, hopefully he cleans it up, but yeah, he's succeeding a good supervisor in Herb Wesson, and like, yeah, if he wins, you know, because she really might win, you know, and like, would that be like not a good thing? Yes. Also, would it be like anything was ever different? No. So there's a way of looking at it from both sides.
After being a voter, now that you're a voter, congratulations.
Yeah.
Do you have any personal interests in ever delving into politics as a politician?
I'll answer no right now, because I feel like too many moral concessions go into being a politician. I feel like there's always something. Okay, I guess just talking about presidents, right? I mean, maybe somebody like Bernie Sanders is not necessarily somebody that you can say that about, because he's been very consistent, especially on social justice issues for, like, you know, decades and decades. But at that, you know, higher, like, you know, level of like the presidency,
like senator.
Yeah, so like this, like I think that there's just like there are so many, at least the way that our political system and the parties are constructed right now, and how powerful you know, certain lobbying groups like the NRA or the pharmaceutical industry, like, okay, for example,
look at Uber and Lyft.
Yeah, look at Uber and Lyft, exactly. But like,
they wanted one.
Some of my friends go to school, who I go to school with, they're from Europe, you know, France, London. These are Black people from Europe. And I'll be talking to them, and they have universal health care, right? They have social medicine, right? And they are astounded and like they laugh about it with me. Yeah, about the fact that it's even a debate, and that, you know, we don't even have a party that has adopted that as a core issue, right? Because
it's insane.
Well, the Democratic Party has a lot of very large corporate industry tied up in the lobbying also. And, you know, of course, there's a difference between, you know, like alt-right leaning corporations and, you know, like left-leaning corporations. But at the same time, it's not like they're really putting their money towards change, or at least they haven't been. They haven't set a precedent for that yet. So yeah, I mean, I guess like my point is like, that's one core issue that I would definitely be like, yeah, like I believe in healthcare for every child and a basic healthcare system for everyone. Like, I gotta get something back for my taxes, because I can't really name too much that I do right now. But that's something that, like, you know, the Democratic Party would probably be like, yeah, okay, like, we already have AOC talking about that. Like, you know, you can,
And it's
we're
insane
not going to
because
let you in. Yeah.
all of those people get the best health care
Yes.
that we pay
100%.
for, which is
100%.
it's so frustrating. But I agree with you, Alaman. I could never be a politician because I'm too morally sound, where it's like I wouldn't be able to like shelve my idea for universal health care
Yeah.
if a big pharmaceutical company gave me $10 million.
Right.
I'd be like, I'm
Right.
selling my soul. What's the point? At this point,
Right.
what's the point?
So
Now
to have a title. Yeah.
somebody says, now based on your statement, why vote? Now, Alaman, I would just like to preface it with this, and then Alaman, you
Mm-hmm.
say, because you're a young person.
Mm-hmm.
We live in America. We are a part of the system. Is the system perfect? No. But if you disengage in the system will never change. And too many people disengage, particularly people of color, particularly young people, particularly marginalized people. We disengage, and that is one of the reasons why things continue to perpetually be the same. So what you gotta vote. And also, why not vote? You have the right. People have died for you to be able to do this. And if your vote really didn't matter, then people who didn't want you to vote would not be working so hard to try to suppress your vote. Alma, what would you like to say?
I agree. I agree with everything you said. I think that that's. Oh, see, my mom just echoed what you had just
Hey,
said.
Bonnie. Hey, Bonnie. Love you, Bonnie.
But I think also I think that this is me, like, you know, kind of projecting into Biker Boy Trail's question. But I believe that, you know, they were asking about how, you know, we were talking about some pretty progressive ideas that haven't surfaced on the ballot yet. And, you know, while, again, there's not necessarily a precedent for it, I, I do think that there is a precedent for ideas percolating and becoming more and more popular until they do find their place on the ballot, especially if the people who are voting on those ballots consistently carry those ideas in their core. And so if a candidate, again, we're talking about like the essence of a politician. A politician is going to politician to get elected, right? They're going to do what they do. And
They're
so if
gonna
they don't feel,
politic.
yeah, if they don't feel like their constituency supports something like universal health care, then they're probably not going to talk about it, or maybe we'll say that they don't endorse it, a la Joe Biden, who's like, you know, left of center, very moderate Democrat. You look at somebody like AOC, who I referenced before. She is the congresswoman for one of the poorest districts in the boroughs of New York. I believe it's the Bronx. I'm not sure.
Yes, Bronx.
And, you know, something like universal health care makes a lot of sense for a community like that, as well as any other community. But they, like, essentially, that's something that's on those people's hearts. And, you know, they've been politically galvanized to a certain degree by AOC. And so I think that if that happens on a more macro level, because, you know, there are 500 plus Congress people, but imagine if you had more senators, of which there are only 2 from each state, more senators, other than, like, you know, probably Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. I'm sure there are some others that support it, but those are the 2 big progressive senators. If you had more senators supporting something like universal health care, it would probably become closer to becoming a reality. I mean, there's also like an interesting political theory about placing something on a ballot. There's like this, I don't necessarily know what it's called, but like the longer something is on a ballot, it may not pass the first time, but odds are that it gains more support each and every time until it's passed. A good example of this is Brexit. Well, it's actually a bad example for England, but a good example of the theory.
It's a good case study.
Yeah, so that choice was made by direct election. We don't have direct election. Obviously, we have an electoral college, but at the state level, we can either vote for something to be voted on by our state legislature, or in some cases, it can be you know, put in place by direct election. And so, if we had the opportunity one day to get, I think it would be a great thing to get, you know, universal health care for like California, like something like that, on the ballot because, then it spends a couple years, maybe it eventually would pass.
Yes.
And then we would be the example for the rest of the country as
And I
to
think the country
how.
would follow.
Exactly. I mean, look at marijuana in Colorado. There's
Exactly.
a strong precedence for testing new laws and new infrastructure in a state before it's expanded to the country. So we just got to make sure it's good things and not bad things that get tested.
Exactly. I mean, I also feel like your generation is so activated, very smart, and active, and I think that among you are the politicians that are going to do those things.
I would hope so.
But it's also like when people say why vote, we have to remember that like our grandmothers couldn't vote, Black
100%.
people couldn't vote, and so we have to make sure that we continue to exercise that right so that it doesn't get taken away from us.
I mean, there are a lot of people that can't vote today because of laws against prior convicted felons and whatnot not being allowed to vote. I'm pretty sure I saw something where in some state this man who just served like 50, 60 years tried to register to vote, and instead of denying him, they said that it was a violation of his parole and are trying to put him back in prison again. Yeah. So that's, hopefully someone can help him. And
I hope so.
I mean, because it's really, I mean, it's an atrocity.
You haven't paid your debt. I mean, they say you've paid your debt to society, and as soon as you get released, you get treated even almost worse
100%
than when you were on the inside. It's beyond 100%. Me. And it's cool that this year in California on our ballot we have that one of those props was
cash bond.
Say that felons or people coming out of prison could vote.
Oh yeah, no. See, like that's an important thing.
That's amazing.
Yeah, 100%.
And shout out to Shaka and Scott Budnick who have fought, and Van Jones who have like fought very hard for that to even. Thank you so much, Stephanie, as Prop J, to even make that happen. But I think, but I feel very hopeful, Alaman, like speaking to young people like you, and obviously there are young people who are on the opposite ends of our belief, but I truly believe in my spirit and in my heart that they are the minority and they just kind of feel loud, but I do think that they are the minority, maybe not their parents' generation.
Certainly. Well, no, I mean, definitely not that. I think, I think socialism and like any policy that you can attribute to that is still taboo for a lot of people that consider themselves to be like, thoroughbred Democrats. And so the problem for us is that it's very hard because like capitalism is something that is like so like American, right? Like
it is. It like runs through our blood.
It's a part of the American fabric, right? And this, I'm not like lobbying like against like capitalism right now, but what I will say is that I still haven't seen a capitalistic or a capitalist society in which someone is being taken advantage of and someone is benefiting from that person being taken advantage of. I think in capitalism, as far as we've seen it, someone always has more and someone always has less. So like you look at the American dream, for example, like, it's a dream that comes with certain qualifications. And so like the reason why I would say that some of those values should be, some of those values from a socialist system should be adopted and integrated into our society that is probably going to be, it's definitely going to be a capitalist society for the rest of our lifetimes and some to come. I think that, some of those solutions are the very solutions that would help, Black and brown people, LGBTQ plus and any other marginalized group. The hard part is going to be translating why something that's been considered to be taboo for so long is actually one of the only ways, because there's no other examples or real possibility by way of like, strengthening capitalism. But also when you do that, when the people have it explained to them by some folks in the years to come, the people that are down and the people that aren't down, that's when you really realize like who's a tiki torch and who's not. So
well, 100%.
Yeah.
What's really interesting, did you see, I can't remember what city, if anybody's listening on here, you can remember, it might be somewhere in Detroit, and maybe was it somewhere in Compton, that the mayors were going to start giving that living wage to people to see how it would affect.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really curious and really I'm really interested to see what happens with this. I think it's a great start. I am such a proponent though of education. And when we fix that disparity, I think that we can really start to see change, because
100%.
If I took 10-year-olds, let's say, and gave them each $100 and said, make a business or see what you can do with $100.
Right.
Obviously the kids from the suburbs going to that better public school are going to be better equipped than, let's say, the kids from the school like in DC public school.
Right.
And you don't even have a computer at your school.
Right.
So I think
I can
actually thing too.
I can piggyback off that, because there are some there's a lot of economic studies that show I'm pretty sure it's something like every dollar that you invest in the lowest common denominator of wealth in our society yields back like 10 or more dollars.
Wow.
And so if you expand that to something like, okay, we have a national budget of like $112 billion for police. The economic fact that let me not say fact, but the economic hypothesis that is highly supported, that it would only cost between $35 and $50 billion to end homelessness in a fiscal year. It is like it's financially feasible, and the homeless are one of the most over-policed populations. And take maybe $10 billion in 1 year. Apply that idea that for every $1 that you put into the lowest common denominator yields another $10. That's 10 billion that will turn into, plus or minus some error, like $100 billion throughout that generation.
So then you're not having as many arrests, not as much crime, not as much homelessness, which at the end of the day saves everybody money and peace of mind.
Absolutely. I think here's the best way to look at it. This is a way that I've had conversations with certain people that are like, defund the police is bad and whatnot. And this makes sense to them, right? First, defund the police is just like, a scary slogan that's like, not necessarily the best word choice. Because
it wasn't the best word choice, because it's a little too aggressive for people who are pro-police, but also the first time I heard it, I was like, does that mean no police? So what happens when I call 911? I didn't.
Exactly.
It's not a good slogan.
It leaves the end open for, so many, so much opposition. Now, that's not to say that if it was a better slogan, people wouldn't still oppose it. People oppose Black Lives Matter, for example.
Exactly. I mean,
but essentially think about it this way. I mean, it's like, say you have a plant, another plant A and plant B, and you put a sticker on one that says education / homeless, and one that says police, right? If you give a whole lot of love to the police plant and not enough love in terms of water, my favorite beverage, to the homelessness and education plant, you're going to see that the police plant is thriving. That other plant is not thriving. It's struggling to survive. And with more police comes more crime. That's an actual fact. There's a correlation between an increase in police. Yeah, 100%. But I mean, it makes sense.
Can I add something to your analogy, Alaman?
Go ahead.
We're putting poison in the other plant as well. We're not only not watering it, we're also putting poison every day, overwhelming amounts of poison in that plant.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I see somebody in the comments saying, I don't think the police should be defunded because they're good police. It's just that the bad ones make it hard for the good ones, and that's sad. And I think that's a fair and obviously redeemable assessment of the problem. But what I would ask you to consider is that it's not a problem about individual police officers, because if you make it about good police officers and bad police officers, when you make it individual, it doesn't address the problem. It's a systemic problem, because police, I mean, for one thing, if you look at origins, police started as the slave patrol, and also a lot of police officers were members of the Klan and this and that, right?
Yes.
And we could get into that U.S. history, but the important part about that is that when an institution is created with these values, those values, permeate throughout generations, and there's a ripple effect, and there is, a holdover from those past generations. Now, I would also argue that even today, there are a lot of problems actively with a lot of how a lot of police officers, established the infrastructure. Yes. I mean, here's an example.
Also, Alaman. I know the person that commented.
Okay.
I also think it's important, before you continue, to say, when we say defund the police, that doesn't mean disband them. That means take away some of the billions upon billions upon billions of dollars that are given to them and give it to education, mental health, homelessness, to help. Because in fact, it would make the police officers' jobs easier.
100%. 100%. I think if you look at this one law that friends and I in the neighborhood have had our interactions with, there's a law against loitering while standing.
Oh, okay.
And that's a law in Los Angeles that is definitely I would venture to guess geographically enforced, because I went to high school in a suburb, one of the richest districts in the country, and
y'all was loitering all day.
Yeah, they were loitering all day. Now,
groups.
if me and some of my friends on the track team were loitering, that'd be a different story. We tried to loiter on campus, but what I will say is that that's a perfect example of an inhuman structural exception that is systemically biased, because people wouldn't want a certain group of Black and brown people hanging out, enjoying themselves, being human beings. Exactly. It's just an excuse to mess with people. So yeah.
But you know what, Alaman, I don't know if you know this, but my grandfather was a police officer in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Oh, wow.
And he was the first Black policeman to arrest a white man. And he had to flee the state because there were mobs going to lynch him. Now, if this is not indicative that the police system in and of itself is racist, that he didn't feel safe enough and protected by his coworkers.
He wasn't safe enough.
He was
it wasn't
not
even about feeling. He wasn't. Yeah.
To Ohio to be safe. And so, and that is my grandfather. I mean, he's passed on now, but again, this is not people. We're not talking about things of people we don't know. I knew this grandfather. We're not talking about 500 years ago. We're talking about real people, real family that we have touched, that have experienced these things then and now. But Alaman, first of all, you're so brilliant. I was watching Barack Obama and Mav and LeBron.
I watched it too.
Uninterrupted, and I was like, "Oh, that's how Alaman's gonna be when he's older." Obama's just like chilling, leg crossed. He's like so nice. So,
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh my God,
he's
this is
super
so
swagged out.
Alaman when he's older. And well, Alaman, you know that the podcast is all about joy. So I want to get into
Yeah,
joy for the last 15 minutes.
sure.
Because you're so brilliant. And I think we should do a part 2 of this talk, maybe next Monday after
Absolutely, yeah.
post-election.
Yeah.
I think we should.
I don't know. I don't know if next Monday is going to be post-election, but we can
Oh,
do
because
next
they still might
Monday.
be counting.
Or there might be some lawsuits like we've never seen before.
I'm a little scared. Not gonna lie, a little
Oh
scared.
yeah.
I'm gonna be real busy tomorrow. Not looking at any social media, no news. I don't want to see a count. I just need somebody. I don't know. I need somebody else to be my liaison because I need to protect my joy, and I can't be following the news every 2 seconds.
I'll give you anything that I think
blah, blah.
I'll give you anything that I think you'd like to know. One thing about the race that's very interesting is that I was reading about it, and in terms of the Electoral College, there's a pathway for Joe Biden. Just he has more options than Donald Trump, just because of how swing states are polling early. Now, Hillary Clinton also polled better early, also, but
exactly.
He's doing it by a much larger margin. If Biden can flip Arizona, North Carolina, Michigan, and Wisconsin, he can win. And all else stays the same from the 2016 election electorally. He can win without winning Florida, Georgia, or Texas, or Pennsylvania. So those 4 states could get it done. So I'll probably be keeping a close eye on those.
Please, yeah. Alaman, if you could be my liaison because I
got you.
Handle it. But I mean, you know what I found fascinating last election? And then we're gonna move on to joy because I want to end this.
Yes. Let's do it.
And and also for anybody listening, by no means do I feel like sad or depressed talking about this. First of all, it makes me hopeful because Alaman is so smart, and that means there are young people who are smart, and they're gonna save this nation that is currently feeling like it's crumbling. But
Chloe's telling me to post a story. Am I able to do that on?
No, you can't while you're on.
Okay. Sorry, Chloe.
Chloe's telling you tomorrow post updates to your story. I think that's what she's saying.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah, I think that's what she's saying.
I can do that. I can do that.
What I found out last election in the Electoral College, if I were an electoral voter, I could actually change. Like, I could go against the grain.
Yeah.
However, my name and address are public. So if I go against, and some crazy person is like, oh, you took the presidency away from this person, and they can find me and my family.
Yeah.
It is beyond. I'm like, how are these people not anonymous? They should 100 million% be anonymous.
It's such a poorly. It's such a poor fit for what our country has become.
Exactly.
Obviously, at the time that it was founded, there were very many people that weren't considered to be people that looked like us. However, if we look at it in a more flat, not without the lens of race, like it technically made sense for how the country was set up, and it was more of a confederacy than a country. But they kept it's like the person that still has the iPhone 1 right now.
And trying to get on Instagram with the black
man. And it's like, oh, how come I can't go live with you? Like it's not gonna work. Like,
Alaman, I love your analogy. Somebody trying to get on Instagram live with an iPhone 1 and they don't understand. For my 2 friends arguing in the comments, neither one of you guys know because you're not psychic, and we're not talking about that right now. So, during this whole pandemic quarantine, we've had racial unrest, we've had crazy political things, a pandemic.
Right.
How have you been able to maintain your joy?
Well, first, I have been able to live at home, which is a very large blessing because not everybody can say that. And my mom lets me live here. She's sitting over there, so I'm looking at her. She lets me live here.
Shout out to the moms that let their kids come home.
Maud says hi. Yeah. So that's one joy for sure. Although that's something that can easily be taken for granted. But in terms of, what I've been able to do, I close to the time that I had gotten home in March during the second semester of my freshman year, um, um, I got a keyboard from my grandmother, an 88 key, like Kawai piano, and
Oh, wow.
I've been practicing playing piano every day. I started learning how to play in quarantine, and yeah, it's been a great joy of mine because it's made me like feel, not to say that I wasn't creatively fulfilled before, but it's like, there are so many ups and downs in this time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very easy to feel super creative and to feel super productive. But then when it's not like that, because of whatever's going on, and you're not as productive creatively, and, for all of the reasons that you wouldn't be, maybe you're just
Mm-hmm.
not feeling it. It's given me something to do, skill wise and practice wise, where I can be like, okay, I'm going to learn this song that I love. And it's not like I'm racking my brain creatively. I'm just, opening up this Stevie Wonder songbook, or I'm
I
playing
love
like
that.
some old commission, like Christian 80s R&B, like just because that music is great to me, like music I love to tap dance to, learning, like transcribing some Charlie Parker,
Wow. I didn't even
like
know he was doing
that's
all this, y'all. He did have a
yeah. So
performance online the other day that I watched, and it was excellent.
yeah, so
He
go to
played
my
and
bio.
sang.
Yeah,
He
I
pulled a
play my own
Stevie on us,
music.
a John
Yeah,
Legend, y'all.
yeah. But yeah, so that's essentially what it's been for me, developing as a musician. I've also been, writing a lot of music. I'm in this poetry class that's super dope at school, and
I
so
love it.
I've been writing poetry, and also using some of those skills to work on my songwriting.
Have you
And
been
so
working
yeah,
with Ron?
I need to work with Ron. I pulled up on Ron, but it got really crazy with school, and I had to go to the East Coast for my grandfather's funeral. And so like a lot of stuff happened that made it just like fall out or whatever. But long story short, like Ron and I are definitely gonna link up. I'm
Chloe
planning
worked with
on
Ron last
reaching out
night.
to him. Oh yeah, on music?
Yes, you gotta hit him up. Oh, because by the way,
Oh, that's
Alaman,
fire. Yeah,
me and Chloe are gonna start rapping.
great. Well,
Cause
you
guess
gotta
what?
you gotta you gotta let me place a beat on the album.
No, we need to be Alaman because guess what? If
Yeah,
WAP is a hit, guess who's about to make a song?
100%.
So no, actually
100%.
Alaman. So everybody's hearing this first on the podcast. Alaman, we
Yeah,
wanna meet up so we could create some. We wanted some of your beats. You could be on the
yeah.
song, like because
Let's do it.
we're at a point creatively and just in our lives where we're like, why not?
Yeah, 100%.
Why not? And like how you said, it makes you feel
100%.
good to do that 80s music and to do the Stevie Wonder. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
I
absolutely.
love that. That is
Yeah,
like, that brings me so much joy. And I think for anybody listening, I think Alaman is providing us with such a great balance of like, he's pursuing an Ivy League degree right now as a sophomore away from school, which Yale is already hard enough. And then not being there is harder, but then
100%.
still finding the time and dedicating time to his artistry because it brings him the joy.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, what Stevie Wonder song brings you the most joy?
Oh my gosh. Well, um, not to be corny, but I think Overjoyed has to be the choice. I mean,
Okay,
that's a
I love
great
Overjoyed.
song. But I mean, there's so many. He has so many great songs. I mean, uh, like there are hilarious songs like Jungle Fever. Like that's a song that's definitely come onto the playlist a few times. And then like, beautiful songs like A Ribbon in the Sky. Like he has
Mm-hmm.
so many great records. So yeah, I mean his voice. I mean that's one of the things. It's like, not to say that the songs aren't great, because they are, but his voice just brings so much to any
It
song because it's
does.
so like has it.
Hold on, your thing just went silent. I can't hear
Yeah,
you.
my bad. The phone
Oh,
just started ringing is why.
oh,
Okay,
I was like, you went silent. You said his
I'm
voice just
sorry.
had. I feel like when Stevie Wonder sings, you feel the ancestors.
Yeah, 100%.
I have a
You feel like
request for you.
Yeah.
I have a Stevie Wonder request for you to sing the song, and if you can learn how to play it, double request.
What song?
Love's in Need of Love Today.
Okay. I got you. I think it's in the songbook that I have, so I'll work on that for you.
It's on the more obscure side of his, like it wasn't like a
even better
hit.
Even better. I mean, you know me.
But for me, it's a song that when I feel sad, I listen to it, and it reminds me that all today needs is a little love, and then it makes it better.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, Alaman, before Instagram cuts us off, but we're reconvening next week, okay? We're doing part 2.
That's totally fine. At 4 or at 3?
Huh?
4 or 3?
Oh, we're doing, Alaman is going to be on all the time.
Okay.
So, Alaman, so one of my dreams, Alaman, is to have my own talk show.
Uh-huh.
And you know, talk shows hosts always have, their correspondent. I want you to be my correspondent.
I got you.
So no matter where you are, I'll be like, we're tuning in with Alaman at Yale. We're tuning in with Alaman in Senegal. We're tuning in with Alaman in Paris. Wherever you are, you're my ear to the ground, Gen Z.
Sounds good. I got it on lock. I got it on lock.
But before Instagram cut us off, what advice can you give everybody listening and everybody watching to stay joyful during a time that is not so joyful in the world?
I think that, I think that there are very many pressures that people face, I definitely feel pressured by school, although that is a very privileged thing to say. I definitely feel like the pressures of I have to write this essay. Oh, I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to go to work. I've been working 3 days a week also. So I think that the most important thing is to really create time for those things that you like to do. If it's binging a show, do that. But I think that, more often than not, people have real passions, like to go outside, like to run around, like to do this and that. And I think that honoring what you want to do is one of those things that is forgotten, because we're so worried about doing what we feel pressured to do, and what we feel like we have to do to make other people happy or to earn $1. So I'd say that, even if it's for 15 minutes, and you have any hesitancy about doing that thing that you want to do. My friend Wyatt's in here, and he does love to run.
Hi, Wyatt.
But I would definitely say that you should follow that instinct and do that thing that makes you happy, because there's no other way to fill your cup,
I love that, Alaman. Okay, we have 30 seconds. Fire round. Person that brings you the most joy.
My mom.
Food that brings you the most joy.
No, pizza.
City that brings you the most joy.
Los Angeles.
Song that brings you the most joy.
Oh, song that brings you the most joy. Find out next week.
I love it. And on that note, everybody go vote. Do what's right for the people. Alaman voted for the first time. Everybody give it up for Alaman's brilliance. And congratulations for becoming a voter. It's a big deal. I'm very, very proud of you for taking this by the reins and not being apathetic and not being a victim to this circumstance, because it's so easy to throw your hands up and say, nobody cares. But you care, and that makes me care, and that makes us all care.
That's right.
I love you, Alaman.
Love you too, Mom.
So next week, part 2.
Yeah.
We gonna be crying or celebrating something.
Something. It'll be something.
It'll be interesting. And no matter what, we will always find our joy.
Yeah.
Because we will never let them steal our joy. Because as soon as we let them steal our joy, they've won. And they will never win.
That's right. That's right. Keep the joy. Keep the fight. See
Thank
y'all
you.
next
Everybody
week.
have a great week. Don't forget to modify your day and try to find the positive and magnify your joy. Love you, Alaman.
Love you
Bye.
too. Bye, Maud.
Thank you.